everyone, I'm Sayakat Cosplay and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a product review and comparison for Polyprop's Seal Prime. This is a spray-on foam sealer which has been available in Europe for a number of years, but recently has finally made its way to the United States. So I'm going to show you guys some of what this does, what it looks like, do a little comparison, and give you my thoughts on this product. So I have here 3 different pieces of 6mm foam. One is covered in 2 layers of Seal Prime. This one is 2 layers of Plastidip, and this one is 2 layers of Hex Flex. Hex Flex is another Polyprop's product. It is a brush-on primer. Plastidip is a spray-on primer like the Seal Prime. And right off the bat, these two, while they look similar and both come in cans, they are not the same. The Plastidip, if you look at it in the light, it's shiny compared to the Seal Prime. The Seal Prime is very matte. The Seal Prime also has a bit of a finer texture. There's a little bit of texture created by the Plastidip even when you apply the Plastidip properly. So it's a bit of a finer texture. It's a little bit less shiny, which is really nice. And comparing that to the other Polyprop's sealer, Hex Flex. So Hex Flex is a brush-on PVA glue primer. It's technically the type of Hex Flex that I have, Hex Flex Clear. It's actually billed as a flexible paint, but I use it as a primer. And so what I've gone and done is coated each of these test pieces in 2 layers of the respective primer. So Hex Flex comes like this in a 500 gram 480 milliliter bottle. So that's the Hex Flex, and I've almost used up this entire bottle. Plastidip, this is what it looks like. It comes in an 11-ounce spray can like this. And Seal Prime comes in a spray can like Plastidip in the same size, about 11 ounces. I've gone ahead and just done 1 layer of acrylic paint on each piece at the top to mess with and kind of see what the differences are in the ability of the primer to keep the paint from tearing or stretching. And you can deform the Seal Prime quite a bit and the paint really doesn't crack. There's a little bit of creasing that occurs, but that's nothing that some heat from a heat gun can't fix. So it's really, it's quite durable. Really, that paint is not cracking off at all. And there are some folds and creases created, but that can be heated right out of the foam. Now, Plastidip, we're gonna do the same thing. The Plastidip, it has a tendency to crease a little bit more dramatically than the Seal Prime. Again, it's not cracking, but the foam, the creases are a little bit deeper than the Seal Prime. And then Hex Flex, again, these are all really flexible primers. So, squish. So I'm not getting any paint cracking on any of these. They are now creased, but all of them, they hold up, they do really well. One of the big claims of Seal Prime is that it prevents top coats from cracking. I have not top coated this, and these are acrylic paints, so they're going to be a little bit more flexible than, say, a spray paint. So you have to take what I'm doing with a little bit of a grain of salt because I haven't tested everything. However, the Seal Prime holds up just as well as Plastidip or Hex Flex. So all 3 of these primers hold up really well. They're all very flexible and all keep paint from cracking. Now, when you flex foam, you're going to get some creases, and that's just going to happen when you're flexing foam. So that you really can't prevent from happening with these primers, but with a little bit of heat from a heat gun, you can smooth all those creases back out. What's the big difference? What are my thoughts? Plastidip, Hex Flex, and Seal Prime. They are primers now that I have used, and they're all really good. The main differences are what you can do, where, and price. Plastidip is something you can't do inside. You have to go into a garage or outside or in a very well ventilated area and wear a respirator when you do it, because the fumes that it gives off are pretty noxious, so you're going to want to wear a fume respirator when you use Plastidip. Plastidip retails in the United States for anywhere from $4 to $6 usually, so it is cheaper than Seal Prime. The Seal Prime, for full disclosure, I am a TNT Supplies affiliate, and I have an affiliate code linked in the description box down below, but the Seal Prime I bought with my own money from their website to test out and see what it's like. The Seal Prime retails for $12.95, so it is about twice as expensive as Plastidip. Now, is it worth the increase in price? In my opinion, well, that is going to be based on if you have access to an exterior space where you can spray, and if you are willing to put more money into your primer. The Hex Flex is a PVA glue primer, so you can do that inside. It is non-toxic, and so if you have a more limited workspace, I would not recommend the Seal Prime or the Plastidip. I would recommend a brush-on primer like Hex Flex. Again, full disclosure, Hex Flex I bought from the TNT website, and I'm an affiliate, but I also just like it as a brush-on primer. So comparing the three, they all perform pretty well, pretty similarly. The Seal Prime, I have found that it seals almost completely in one pass. The Plastidip, when you use it, usually I require 3 coats or more of the Plastidip to get a fully sealed foam. And the Seal Prime seems to seal a lot more quickly. It also doesn't drip. So Plastidip, when you apply it, you have to apply it in pretty thin layers, otherwise you risk forming drips. I did not notice any of that with the Seal Prime, and I tried putting it on in some pretty thick layers. So it takes a lot more to get the Seal Prime to drip or make the surface uneven. You can also sometimes have problems with Plastidip where it forms bubbles or it forms a kind of bumpy surface. And the surface that the Seal Prime makes is completely and utterly smooth. I was using it in an environment in my garage that had a really high temperature and really high humidity, and it performed really, really well. So there is a price difference between Plastidip and the Seal Prime. The Seal Prime is about twice as expensive, but it does perform better, and it is a nicer, matte, finer surface finish. Would I recommend it over Plastidip? It's based on your budget. So if you are trying to be more budget friendly, you would probably want to go with Plastidip. However, if you have a little bit more to spend, I would recommend the Seal Prime. Now, to cover an entire armor project, you're going to probably need 2 or 3 cans of the Seal Prime. I just have the one, and it covered about 5 armor pieces before it hit the can. So you're going to need quite a bit of it. I mean, it's the same thing with Plastidip. To cover an entire armor, it's about 2 to 3 cans of primer. When you're going for the most bang for your buck, that's going to actually be the Hex Flex. Out of a 480 milliliter bottle, I have primed approximately 20 armor pieces, 2 props, and I've almost completely got, used up the whole bottle that I got recently, but it has primed the most things out of these products. Of these products, Hex Flex is the most expensive. It is $16.95 on the TNT custom supply website. It is the more expensive product, but it is the product that has covered the most armor out of all of these products. So even though you're spending more, you're getting more value for what you're spending with the Hex Flex. Depending on your budget and what you need to do and what your workspace is like, I'm going to recommend different products. So all of these products are great. If you don't have access to an outdoor space in order to use the Plastidip or Seal Prime, I'm going to recommend the Hex Flex. If you do have access to an outdoor space, the Hex Flex is going to take you longer to apply and take more work time because you actively have to be brushing on the primer. So if you want to save time, I recommend Plastidip or the Seal Prime if you have access to an outdoor or garage space in order to spray these things. Also, the Seal Prime, it's not as noxious as Plastidip, but I would still recommend using a fume respirator with the Seal Prime. So if you don't have a fume respirator, I would say Hex Flex. If you do and you have that outdoor space and you are willing to spend a little bit more money, definitely go for the Seal Prime. It is worth the investment. It's a really nice primer. It's really smooth. You're going to get a really nice paint job. The one thing with using spray-on primers versus a brush-on primer is brush-on primers tend to fill in little imperfections and divots and defects. A spray-on primer will not. So if your surface has some imperfections that you want to hide or get rid of, I would recommend using a combination of primers. So you could use a Hex Flex primer, a couple layers, and then coat the top of that with a spray-on primer if that's something that is a worry for you for whatever project you are working on. So the Hex Flex is great, the Plastidip is great, and Seal Prime is also great. I have really wanted to try out this product since I saw it pop up on the TNT website, and I have not really seen a lot of people in the US using Seal Primes, so I wanted to give it a try, and it is a great primer. It is a little bit more expensive, and the price is worth it, but if you want to be more budget friendly, Plastidip. If you want to try this product out, you can get it from the link in the description box down below. And if you have any more questions, please leave a comment down below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.